Hey everybody, this is Jay back with you from What 5HT channel on YouTube, where we talk about world health, academia, and times. And we deal with those five H's. And when we say 5HT, the H's is when you're dealing with the truth, where the truth hurts, the truth is hard, the truth helps, the truth is healthy, and the truth heals. That's the place we all trying to get to. You know, it's a process. And I tell you, that working process sometimes can be challenging, very challenging, especially when you're getting a lot of new information that's somewhat foreign to you. You've never heard it because you've always believed a certain thing or always believed a certain way. We weren't afforded to be in the right places where we could learn certain things. So this particular post right here is going to be pretty interesting. I'm going to take a turn right quick because I'll be going back into where we left off from our last post. But I wanted to kind of say something to where we are now today in this day and time. Pretty much trying to speak to my millennials and my Gen Zers, where we are here in this place and time here in the country we call America, or the United States of America, and how we kind of got where we are. So if you all just bear with me, eventually I will take this to a place to where we can have more clarity of what we're experiencing today, what we're going through and witnessing as the days progress. Remember in the last, I was talking about how the disciple was asking Yeshua what would the end times look like. And let me tell you something. We've had so many different time frames and generations declaring that we was at the end time. But there's a lot of things that has to line up before we can even consider ourselves being at an end time or another reset. End time or another reset to where we come to a difference in our conscious thinking. We'll be thinking more in with that Christ consciousness rather than being all over the place with all these different beliefs and everybody want to be right and everybody pointing fingers at who's not right. So we're gonna deal with that. I'm telling you, like I said, a lot of things had to line up. And, you know, Yeshua told them that it was going to be like the days of Noah, that they was going to be marrying and giving into marriages, not so on the natural sense, but in a spiritual sense, you marrying different gods. And there are many gods, because if it wasn't so, then the Most High wouldn't have said, we shouldn't worship no other God before him or bring no other God before him. So that's an acknowledgement that there is another spiritual entity that actually have influence over man, especially since the fall of man in the garden has a lot of influence. So since then we've been up under all type of different doctrines, all type of different beliefs. I mean, coming down through the nations. Even Daniel talked about how it would be 7 nations, 7 different nations. And we right now, if you count it down when it comes to as far as scripture, and you're talking about all the nations that have been in power, from Assyria to Egypt to Babylonia to Persia to the Greek and to the Roman, that's 6. So now we're looking for 7, because Nebuchadnezzar had a dream about the statue with the golden head, and it goes all the way down to the toes. And Daniel kind of interpreted the dream because it was given to him from the Most High, the interpretation of the dream. So now we're at 6. I say the last nation that's been struggling to stay in power, fighting and losing and fighting and winning and fighting and losing and fighting and winning again. was the Roman Empire, and that empire was on the downfall right before Constantine came into power, trying to change everything up. And let me tell you something, he did a good job on people and their beliefs and which way they go. And he the one that coined the phrase, really not just coined the phrase Christian, but he the one that actually authenticated that particular phrase as far as being Christian. And now out of that term come Christianity. And, we always had the Islam or Muslims. And then we had what they call the Judaism. And it's all up under one broad spectrum. Everybody, all these three religions or beliefs, they all trace back to Abraham. See, I'm going somewhere with this, I say, because in a minute we're going to start talking about some things, so we can have an understanding how we derive to where we are now. They all go back to Abraham. Judaism, they claim Abraham. Islam, they claim Abraham. And of course, Christianity claim Abraham, but there's a split right at Abraham. It came a split with the Ishmael and Isaac thing, and then it became another split with the Esau and Jacob thing. And now what you got is a lot of people that's upset with each other, fighting and bickering back and forth as to who are supposed to have, quote unquote, they call the birthright to this thing or this promise that the Most High has promised us. So let's talk about fast forward to where we are now. And I'm going to bring a little government and politics into this. I want to talk about some of the things that this country, once they see it was founded by the forefathers who were supposed to be Christians, but they were actually deists. They mean they worship on the deism, not theism, deism. They believed in God, but they didn't believe that God was active in man's life. So that almost take you to humanism. I mean, you believe in God, but you don't believe that he's active like physically active in man's life. So that means man have to make choices according to what they feel on the inside that's right. Let's talk about once they started forming government in this country and how it came to be. We know that the greatest generation from 1901 to 1927, within that time frame, we say the FBI, but at that time it wasn't called the FBI, it was called the Bureau of Investigation. And then that was in 1908. They became actually FBI once Edgar Hoover got in, and it became the Federal Bureau of Investigation. That was in probably 1944, closer to that time frame. Then we had in 1913 the Federal Reserve. Man, that was tricky. The Federal Reserve, prior to the Federal Reserve being enacted or created for our country, the United States made sure they was going to stay away from federal banking. Like it's like a worldwide bank situation where the bank loan money, and they print up as much money as that you ask for, but it's really a loan, so the money is really not real. So your money today that you look at in your hands is really it's a Federal Reserve note.
Printed. They said United States note instead of Federal Reserve note. They were debt-free money created by the government, not the Fed. 5 months later, Kennedy was assassinated. Lyndon Johnson became president. One of his first acts was to halt the issuance of United States notes. The $4 billion that had been printed were quietly removed from circulation. We went back to Federal Reserve notes exclusively. Coincidence? Maybe. But every president who has seriously challenged the Federal Reserve's power has faced serious consequences. Abraham Lincoln issued greenbacks during the Civil War, debt-free currency printed by the government. He was assassinated. James Garfield spoke publicly about the danger of private control of money. He said, "Whoever controls the money supply controls the nation." He was assassinated within months. These are historical facts, not conspiracy theories. Presidents who challenged the banking system met violent ends. and the Federal Reserve's power remained intact. So let's answer the original question. If the Federal Reserve prints money out of thin air, who do they owe it to? The answer is no one. The Federal Reserve creates money from nothing. There is no lender. There is no creditor. They don't owe the money to anyone. They are the ultimate source of dollars. But the government owes the money to the Federal Reserve. That's the trick. The Fed creates dollars by buying government bonds. When they buy a bond, they create the dollars to pay for it. The government receives the dollars, but the government now owes the Federal Reserve the principal plus interest. And the Federal Reserve is owned by private banks. So the chain of debt goes like this. The Federal Reserve, owned by private banks, creates money from nothing, lends it to the government owes the Fed, and the government pays interest from tax revenue. Your tax dollars pay interest to a private banking cartel on money that was created from nothing. The Federal Reserve doesn't owe anyone, but everyone owes the Federal Reserve. Every dollar in your wallet is a Federal Reserve note, a debt instrument. You're holding evidence of debt that the government owes to private banks, and that debt can never be fully repaid, because if it was, there would be no money. The system is designed to require permanent, exponentially growing debt, which generates permanent interest payments, which transfer wealth from taxpayers to banks. For over 100 years, since 1913, this system has been operating. Trillions of dollars have been transferred from the American people to the banking system through this mechanism. And most people have no idea. They think the government prints money. It doesn't. The Federal Reserve, a private banking cartel, creates money and charges the government interest on it forever. The national debt is $36 trillion. It will never be paid off. It will only grow because the system requires it. And every year, over $1 trillion of your tax money goes to paying interest on that debt, interest that flows to the Federal Reserve and the private banks that own it. The question, who does the Fed owe, reveals the con. They don't owe anyone. They create money from nothing, but you owe them, your government owes them, and you pay the bill through taxes. The Federal Reserve Act of 1913 was the greatest heist in history. It transferred the power to create money from the government to private banks, and gave those banks the legal right to profit from it forever. If this gave you a different perspective on how money works and who controls it, subscribe. Because understanding the Federal Reserve is understanding who really runs America. It's not the president. It's not Congress. It's the banks, the ones who own the money printer. They create the money. They collect the interest. And you pay the debt. The Federal Reserve doesn't owe anyone. But the real question is, who owns the Fed? And the answer is the same banks that crashed the economy in 2008. The same banks that got bailed out with trillions in created money. The same banks that profit from every dollar of national debt. They own the system, and the system is designed to transfer wealth from you to them, forever.
So anytime the Federal Reserve choose to, they can cut that off, and that money that you got in your hand to be no good. Prior to that, the United States was self-sufficient. They had what you call silver notes, and they vowed, the president, Wilson, he vowed that he would never, ever get involved with central banking. But prior to World War I, things started to happen, and he felt depressed, and he felt the need, and he sold the Americans out by joining the central banks or the Federal Reserve banks that's owned by one family with all the money, finance all the wars, no matter which side it is. I don't care. Like take for instance, let's use this for an example. In World War One, this family funded both sides. He funded Russia, he funded France, he funded Germany, he funded Italy. No matter which side, he gave them money to buy bombs and try to do away with one another. And the same thing goes on today. This is what they call the greatest generation. And in the greatest generation, one of the presidents sold this country out. That's the beginning. Then we got the silent generation from 1928 to 1945. Within that time, we had the IMF, the CIA, and all these other three-letter agencies that were formed. And that was, once again, think about it, 1944. What else going on in 1944? The beginning of World War II. Yeah, that's what happened. And now we are continuing to move on and on and on. And what I'm saying is, this government, we need to not be so involved and tied up in it, especially if you say that you're a believer. Now, here, don't get me wrong. It's fine for you to keep up, stay in tune with what's happening and what's transpiring in our world, in our place and area and time. That's good. But when you start putting this energy into these political figures, and you start to put more energy into this government than you do the Most High and your spiritual walk, then what you are starting to do is, in an indirect way, you are starting to actually create yourself another God, an idol God. I'm the Lord thy God. Don't put no other God before me. Okay? So, like I said, we've always talked about end times, and end times has been called so many times, but nothing was ever lined up. Now, I'm going to say something that could be challenging. It depends on how you believe and what you believe. But something did happen. I can tell you, we had technology prior to all of this boom and stuff I'm telling you about now, all these generations, even before the greatest generation. There were people here that were so well advanced and informed on how to actually operate effectively a civilized nation. But a lot of things has been hidden. So now the way we see today, I believe today, they say some of the greatest things, or most of the things that we enjoy today, like you enjoying this channel, watching this channel with here, and you see all these instruments and how we can transmit signals, and everything just happens so quick. They would like to say that the majority of this stuff was invented in less than 100 years ago. But there are other findings that says different, that it just not just been invented, it's just being reintroduced. We talking about a great reset again. I've heard two past political figures talking about a reset, one of them being Hillary Clinton, and the other one was Joe Biden. Kept talking about a reset. So look at our present state right now, how we fall out over politics, how family lose each other over politics. It's crazy. Well, especially when you say that you are a firm believer of the Most High God, and you say you was created in His image, and then you know everything about this way, and following after Him. Then how is it that you have man, or allow man to lead you away from what you say you believe, by getting caught up in emotions, about getting caught up in the cares of life? And Scripture has been telling us to stay away from those things, but we get caught up in it, and it's so cunning and persuasive, and it creeps in so easily and unaware. You, before you look up and know it, you already in it and actively moving in this energy, this all this negative energy that causes you nothing but stress, distress, takes away from your life, takes away from your thinking, your mind. You can't even come to a complete thought sometimes. So how is it that we can come to a place where we say we can be pleasing to the Most High, and we got all these other things clogging our brain, just like grease clogs the drain, and want to let water or knowledge to go in or to come in, so just like that water is not being able to actively go down the drain, so we get caught up in this stuff. So I'm going to tell you what has to happen here. There are some things that has to happen for us to get to a place that Scripture said eventually we'll be right back to a one world government. Of course, it has been that way, and now we try to get back to that way. But there's something that's in the way, And what's in the way is this form of what we call democracy. It's in the way because democracy is a part of the free world. I mean, nothing is dictated to you. You got your own freedom. You got your own rights, your constitutional rights, what have you, your civil rights, what have you, as they continue to evolve. It stands in the way of a dictatorship. It actually stands in the way of that. So what has to happen is that has to be moved. It has to be moved. There has to be a central person or central place that can actually be powerful enough or far stretching enough to be able to quiet down the masses, bring the masses into control, have the masses do as they say, when they say, and how they say. That's what happens up on the most strenuous type of government, which today we call it communism. It might seem like I'm not. It might seem like I'm all over the place, but trust me, I'm going somewhere. So, and then communism is really it's a dictatorship. Everybody know that the United States has always been in tour with Russia about communism, and the United States has started to be in tour with China about communism because at one time China didn't operate up on a communist system, but it does now. That where and the government we live up under is the government for the people. When you up on the communism, it's the people for the government. That means everything you do is for the government. So now here we go. If we dealing with communism, what we call democracy or capitalism has to get out of the way. The slow road to getting it out of the way is change the government. So how you change the government? You start persuading people to believe that that what you're operating upon is not working, and I got a better system, and I got a better way. Yeah, I tell you what, when Adam and Eve received that mandate from the Most High to stay away from that tree, right? Something was said to them. Something was said. If you partake of this, my works, if you learn of my works, you will be just like God. And now here we are. So the United States is pretty much in the way of any one world government to be formed because it can't be up on a democracy. It can't be up on this what we call capitalism. It has to be close enough to communism. So what I see now is we are on our way to maybe coming to that place because our country is in turmoil and countries around the world is in turmoil. And the way you do it is you have to have control of the people. But if you over a people that's not used to being controlled, it's going to be difficult. So what you need to do is you need to bring people around that used to be in control and used to being told what to do and used to being given things and promised things, and then you will behave and you obey. Like, okay, now if you be good today, I'm going to go and get you that bicycle that you wanted. You got to be good for the rest of this week or the rest of this month now, making promises. And then in this case with politicians, most promises never kept. I'm saying that to say one thing. Something just happened interesting. Something just happened very interesting. New York, the largest city in the United States, is now I'll say, has elected a self-declared socialist. So now he's coming with all these socialist ideals about free stuff, free, free, free. And we know free ain't free. Keep telling you. But I feel a shifting going on, and that this may be the model, because across the United States there are other important positions that may have been won with people with their socialist views. So we might be into a slow roll of the United States becoming a socialist country. Now, once the United States become a socialist country, the rest of the world that say they're up on the free world has no choice but to follow, because the United States is, quote unquote, supposed to be one of the most powerful nations on the planet today. So then from the socialism, we'll roll closely over into communism. And the way socialism works is it's to advocate social ownership of the means of products through democratic gradual reform. Democratic now gradual reforms is allowing for some private property and compensation based on contribution, right? So that means, like, in other words, the guy, let's say about the guy that's in New York, Zoran Mandani, he don't believe in that should be billionaires. This is not a such thing as billionaires or millionaires. But at the same time, his family is a multimillionaire. So, like I say, but what I'm saying is, what happens is, it's almost like Robin Hood. If you can remember Robin Hood, you steal from the rich and you give to the poor, something like that. And that sounds good. They're like, yeah, that might work. But here's the deal with that. So now you got people that shouldn't be billionaires. So you take their money and you give it to the people that's less fortunate. So now what you're doing now is you're encouraging the people that's less fortunate to try and get out and do something with their lives. So now they become independent, like a baby that needs to be birthed, or a baby that needs a bottle, and they stay dependent on you. And then what you've done is you've aggravated the one who you just took from, and they feel like they worked for this, and you just took it from them and gave it away. So now that's the shift. And now we got pushback. So we have to get to a place where it's going to only be rich and poor. The middle class have to be eliminated. The middle class must go. And most times you will never see in most nations, all these great nations that rose and fell, you only have rich and poor. So we need to get to that point to where it's only rich and poor. We need to get to that point in this country to where it's only rich and poor. We must erase the middle class, no more middle class. Scripture pretty much signs off on that too. Now, socialism is a slow walk to communism. Now, communism is more extreme form. It advocates for the abolition of all private property and classless society achieved through a violent revolution with a strong central government that controls all aspects of the economy and distribute resources based on needs. See how that go? So Mandani said he's gonna have free bus rides, free daycare, free. He's gonna open up at least 5 or 6 grocery stores that you'll be able to go in and get free food. What a setup! What a setup! What a setup! But it's the perfect setup for Scripture to be fulfilled. It's the perfect setup for Scripture to be fulfilled. A lot of our millennials and Gen Zers, they go through changes right now today, and I'm pretty sure they're going through a lot of changes. They finding it difficult to really find themselves spiritually, and then they look at the past generations and think that the past generation has actually failed them in a lot of areas, although they're not able to see that they've really been privileged in a lot of other areas that Gen X and the baby boomers wasn't afforded. Even the silent reserve and the greatest generation, they just wasn't afforded. But it's like a child. A child. If you give a child all the things that they want as a child, they'll never know that they were needy. And that's something that kind of transpired through our time with the millennials, not more so with the millennials than the Gen Zers, because we never heard of driving to school. You got your own car to go to school. If you had your own car to go to school in my day, you was a special type of person. Your parents was something different, man. But see, that's the norm now. It's expected today. Not walking to school, not walking anywhere. Give me a car. Yeah, you give me one. Some of them, but you got some Gen Zers. They actually get out and apply themselves and work. I know some, and they do it, and they do it well. But I'm not lumping everybody in one basket. So when I be talking about these generations, don't think I'm getting everybody and throwing it in one basket. Where we going now with this? So here we go. The United Nations. That was formed in if I'm not mistaken, it was right in the era of the silent reserve in 1945, somewhere up in that area, if I'm not mistaken, right prior to the baby booming. Why am I talking about the United Nations? Because we talked about the United Nations in one of the posts. It's a group of 193 countries that come together, and they supposed to actually have a lot of influence over world affairs and who gets what and why they get it and who can't do what. It's like policing the world. You got 193 countries. So now once you combine enough countries and get enough countries, now the die has been set. The only thing that has to happen from that point is once you knock out these other governments that have people that's too free. See, we had a trial test 4 years ago. We had a trial test. We had something that drastically, something bad happened, and it was unleashed all over the world. And we was in such a panic mode, and we were so afraid. And so we was being told what to do and what not to do, and we was told where to go and where not to go. And we listened to all of it. See, that was a trial test. That was a trial run for dictatorship. One world government, to where man will be thinking in one way. It happened like that before. Case in point, and when Nimrod had all the people come together, and Nimrod he got all the people to come together, and they built the Tower of Babel. That's what they did. They built the Tower of Babel. Yep. And I tell you, it was something. It was actually something. It's something, because after that, God saw that man, once again, he had to do something about it, because they came together, and he said it was nothing that I could do, nothing that they couldn't do, that they didn't want to do, that was on the earth. It was nothing. If they wanted to achieve it, men are as one now. That's what he said. They are all at one now. They're thinking as one. And if we don't go down and visit these jokers, whatever they have in their mind that they decide they want to do is nothing that will stop them from doing what they want to do. So that was close to a one world government. Well, one guy's ruling everybody, ruling everything, calling all the shots. So we got to get to that place again. However, it's got to be, the time has to be right. The season has to be right. You just can't go and pick an apple off the tree just because as soon as you see it develop. It's a process that has to happen before it's right, what you would call for the picking. It has to be right. So we're going into a time now to where we might be getting there. So, because if we can get this country to become a socialist country and slowly roll over to a communist country where the government controls everything, then I would say then we are at the door. We are at the door. Because they wanted to know something. The disciples wanted to know something. They asked something of Yeshua. They asked him. They asked him something. I'm going to read something right quick. I'm just going to read straight through. We're not going to deal with a lot of spiritual. We're just going to read. I want you to hear something. This is Matthew's 24th chapter. I'm going to start at the first verse saying, Jesus went out, or Yeshua went out, and departed from the temple. And his disciples came to him to show him the building of the temple. And Yeshua said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, or truly I say unto you, there shall not be there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And Jesus answered and said unto them, and Yeshua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. Yeah. For many shall come in my name, or my way, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Yeah, I think like Christ. Well, I have the Christ consciousness. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nations shall rise against nations, and kingdoms against kingdoms. And there shall be famine and pestilence and great earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you. And ye shall be hated of nations for my name's sake, or my way's sake. You're going to be delivered up and afflicted and kill you. And don't always look at kill. Don't always look at kill in the physical sense, because the ultimate death is a spiritual death. The ultimate death is a spiritual death. Don't always look at it as in the natural, because we all must die. We all one day going to leave this place. We're going to transition. But the spirit lives on. So, but when he said, then they shall deliver you up and you shall be afflicted and they shall kill you, that might be a sense of robbing you of your Christ consciousness, or who you say you believe, or what you say you believe. And then he's saying, you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake, for standing for that way, or standing up for what he stood up for, which was to fulfill the scriptures and everything he said he was going to do by obeying the commandments, the statutes, and the laws. And verse 10 says, and then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. That's what we are today. That's what we are today, because we, it's just sad to say, I'm sorry, we have made government our God. And look, I'm telling you why it's so hard to get around that, because that's such a slippery slope. If you find yourself every day concerned about, or all tore up inside about what you see naturally going on, that said is going to happen anyway. It tells you it's going to happen. It tells you who not to take to and who to take to. But see, what we'll do is we'll take one image and hate it. Then we'll take another image and love it. Come on. Either way it goes, either way it goes, you have now given in to some sort of entity or some man. Whether you hate them or you love them, it really doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. But when they begin to have effect over all of your doings, all of your decisions, and you keep these people in your mind more so than you keep the Most High, you just created yourself a God, whether you like it or not. Now, I'm telling you, it's a very slippery slope. To where you get to the point to you've been introduced, and you've been allowed to hate this and hate this, and then you love this and love that. Get out of it. If he telling you that nations going to rise up against nations, and he just and Yeshua just laying it out, they're going to deliver you up for my name's sake. When he say they, who you think he talking about? Think about something. When he rode in on the donkey and they were hollering, Hosanna, Hosanna, then they found him in the courtyard, and then Pilate was like, well, who y'all want? We gonna, we got this ritual. We release somebody, one of these prisoners. So do you want Barabbas, or do you want who you said is the king of the Jews? He asked that question. And the whole courtyard said, Barabbas, we want Barabbas. The reason they wanted Barabbas is because Barabbas was a representation of, he was a murderer, right? So he killed stuff. That's what we do. We feel more connected with him because we kill stuff. What is it that we kill? Because they can only just take the body, and Yahshua told them that I'm laying this down. You're not taking it. What they was after was to kill the spirit. Excuse me. That consciousness. They were after the spirit, and they was letting Pilate know we relate with that murderous spirit. So these are all the people in the courtyard. They in other words, they were more in tune with chaos and murder and death than they were in peace, tranquility, life, and salvation. They weren't interested in that. So when you saying that when he's saying they, who you think he's talking about? He's not only talking about the people that was in the courtyard. Look who presented him. It was a man in high position that presented him, Pilate. And somebody want to say, well, Pilate really didn't want to do it. Okay, if he didn't want to do it, then how come he just didn't exercise his power and not do it? See, that's all I'm saying. This thing is influenced by people. So it's people in high places. And yeah, true enough, we don't get it twisted, family. Yo, you find yourself following out the people in high places. Yep, it's true. Yep, it's true. It's somebody you highly esteem right now. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Trust me, because me myself, I work on, meditate hard on making sure that I keep the Most High up before me and make sure that He's first, and don't let nobody influence me. Don't let nobody. I know when I say no one, I really mean no one, because I got to do this walk alone. It's just mine. It's for me. It's just mine. I can only take me. I can't take nothing that I've earned from this place or nothing that I think that's mine. Is not mine anyway, because if it was mine, when I transition, I'll be able to take it with me. I can't take none of it with me. Nothing but this spirit that's inside, or this energy that's inside of this shell that came from, they say, the dust of the grounds. It's the shell that it came from. It's an energy that's on the inside of me that worketh. And that's who I look at. And that's why, see, I'm saying that because we going somewhere now. We going to get somewhere to where you ain't going to have no choice. You're going to have to make a decision. You're going to have to make a decision. So, I'm at Matthew 24:10. It's saying, then shall many be offended, and they shall betray one another, and hate one another. Yeah. Here's the key, the big one. And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And you think you loving something or somebody, let them not agree with you. Let them not let them not see your point of view. Let them not take sides with what you think is right. And then you say, I'm not going over their house anymore. I'm not talking to them anymore. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. Sound like the Pharisees. That's who you sounding like. Yeah. When Yeshua went over there with the tax collector, they look at him. He over there eating and drinking with the sinners, or he over there learning or teaching the sinners. He knowing their thoughts and say, listen here, man. Who need the physician? Who need the physician? The sick, or the one that you call themselves well? No, it's the sick that needs the physician. I'm doing my job. Now, Matthew 24:13. key right here. But he that endured unto the end, the same shall be saved. Oh, I'm already saved. Oh, so you just so that means you just gonna make scripture to what you want it to be. Well, I'm already saved. I've been saved for 30 years now. Can I read this one more time so we can make it clear? But he that shall endure until the end, the same shall be saved. Past tense. How you gonna say you saved? I'm saved. That's past tense. The only way you're gonna be saved, you got to endure to the end. So you just leave it alone. Stop it. Stop using that term. I know we've been taught it. I've been taught it. I don't care. I stay away from that right now. All that stuff that I was taught and that was instilled and put in me because of somebody that was teaching that wasn't informed enough. Either they knew or they didn't know. Either way it go, they wasn't passing the right information. So when I get the right information, then that's what I apply. It's like putting together a table. If you got the instructions right there and you don't have the right information, and you can't put that table together unless you sit there and guess and figure your way through it. But if you use the information or you use the instruction right, then you can put that table together and it does what it's supposed to do. So if you weren't getting the right information, then you got to discard that. And you got to get the information that makes it right for you and that'll take you to a place that you need to be in your life. So quit saying that. He said, he that endure to the end, the same shall be saved. That's what was said. He that endure to the end, the same shall be saved. So if you haven't endured until the end, let me make this plain. If you still here talking to me, you haven't endured to the end. If you sitting on the other side of this screen and you can hear me and listen to me, you haven't endured to the end. You endure to the end when you that last breath and you transition, and that spirit or that energy that's in you goes on to the next phase because it lives forever. That spirit lives forever. So at that point, you endure to the end, but what's your faith after that? If you did everything according to his statutes, his laws, and his commandments, where the Christ consciousness lead you in righteousness, the same one shall be saved. That's how you be saved. You got to endure to the end. You can't run around saying you saved. You have to endure to the end. I know this sounds, well, yeah, like I say, it's foreign. I understand and I get it. But if you look at it right and you listen to it right and you quit believing what you've been told and start believing what you are really hearing while you're reading and studying and meditating, you'll get it. Will some of this hurt? Yeah. Is some of it hard? Of course. But does it help? Absolutely. Is it healthy? Without a doubt. Does it heal? Try it. Try it, and then you answer me on that. I'm going to read something to you. I was saying that because we're trying to get to a one world government situation, and I can see things starting to fall in place. May not happen in my lifetime, but I can tell you one thing, it's rapidly going because we have a generation right now that's starting to embrace this new ideal. It's not a new ideal, this ideal of socialism, and then that'll walk its way to communism, and then you'll find yourself in a place to where it's no longer the government for the people, which is still a struggle right now anyway. If the government was for the people, we probably wouldn't be having a shutdown. That's a conversation for another day. That's a whole nother topic. But if the government was really for the people, we wouldn't be in this shutdown and wouldn't be used as political hostages or pawns talking about, I want to do this for this group of people. I want 20 million people to get this. So since the 20 million people that I want to get this, you're not signing off on that. We're not going to let the 42 million people over here get this. And then we're not going to let the vast majority of the people that we're supposed to be paying, we're not paying them either. Can't you see where we going? Oh, we getting there. We getting there really, 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 really fast. How people are going to start hating one another. Yeah, because you don't believe my way. Yeah, and then we started bickering and fighting. That's all the communism need. That's all communism need, to take charge and take seize. This is what Revelation 13 and 16 said. It and he calls it both, and he calls us all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. And he calls us all, both small and great. That means if you are high status or if you are low, or you at low state. If you some high politician or you somebody impoverished and homeless. Rich and poor. Okay. We don't see a middle class in there. Two classifications, rich or poor. That's how socialism and that's how communism work. Rich or poor. Middle class gone. And when you rich and poor, not only in as far as the financial state, even rich or poor spiritually. Even rich or poor spiritually. And there are some that's rich spiritually but won't even share it. So they'll find their place. And there's a lot that's poor spiritually. The poor will have with us always. That's what he said. Don't always think naturally, spiritually, because this is a spiritual battle. You can make it natural all you want, but this is a spiritual battle. And then they say both free and bond. Free and bond. If you free to what? And then you in bondage to what? You free to do what? And in bondage to what? This is all these people. And you got to receive the mark in their right hand or in their forehead. Right hand is a representation of power. Yeshua sits on the right hand of the Father. Christ sits on the right hand of the Father. That's the power. That's the power. Huh? So your right hand or your forehead, that's your thinking. That's your thought, your pineal gland right here that we don't even use. We don't use that enough because it's been infected. It's been infected by certain things that put in our food and put in our water that contaminate it. Yeah, so that keeps us away from, here I go again, that 100% thought. You can think all you want, you're using 100%, but if you think you're using 100%, what a poor excuse for human. What a poor excuse for where we are today, and you think you're using 100%. Poor excuse. Poor. That means all these great things that I've seen invented and all these great things that's been torn down and all these great findings we have, man, no way this generation can do it. This generation don't even want to get up and go to work. So how are we going to get that done? We can't get it done. So we've been distracted by force, a power that's taking siege, and I see it unfolding. I came to you in a natural sense, according to this political arena. I have to deal with the political arena because other than that, we won't get to where it needs to go. The Most High used Nebuchadnezzar, he was a king. The Most High used Darius, he was a king. The Most High used Joseph, he was a pharaoh. The Most High used Herod, he was a king. The Most High used Pilate, he was the governor. The Most High used Caesar, and on and on and on. He used Alexander the Great. He used Genghis Khan. And on and on and on and on. And now we're in this, like I said, we're in this last moment where we need another great power to come into charge. Rome is trying to reinvent itself. In 1952, you had a group of a huge group of European nations came together and they formed what you call the Treaty of Rome in 1952. The Treaty of Rome, that is to revise this whole system that we live in, that it become like it was in the days of Yeshua when he was walking the earth physically in those days. So it can come right back to where it used to be. So Rome will be in charge again. But it's going to be done not upon the one nation, it'll be done upon a collection of nations. So that's where we headed. That's where I see it. We got politicians now that come from other countries. And the countries they come from, most of the countries they come from, they were impoverished countries for number one, and a few of them was operating up on a socialism. So they come with that socialist thought. So they have injected themselves or inputted themselves into the political arena in this country, and I think it's been allowed by the Most High. And eventually we're going to get to a place that's going to be nasty and uglier than where we are right now. So until we come to this realization and this true knowledge and understanding of who we really are and where we really supposed to be, then we're going to go down this road right here to where you ain't got no other choice. It said, Revelation 13:17. Once you receive the mark in your right hand and your forehead, you're going to have to, because this is what it say, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Remember, I told you beast is a representation of evil men. See, when we see beast right now, we be thinking about some kind of monster. We always, because that's, I'm afraid of Revelation. No. When you see the word beast, that's a evil man. So you won't be able to buy or sell unless you have the mark or the name of the beast, or remember what I say about that name, or the way of the beast, or the number of his way. Here we are. The moment we was born in this government that we live in today, which is the United States of America, that's what they call it, up under capitalism and a constitutional republic, in a form of democracy. The moment we were born, we were given, back in the day, it was said, give everybody a number. That number was a social security number. I'm not tying that in with what I just read. I'm saying this for a reason. The United States is a business. It's a corporation. It's a country that works as a corporation. The minute you was given that social security number, you were immediately looked at as an employee of this country. You were an employee to work for this corporation. And don't say you haven't. There's some people probably never work, but every time you punch a clock, you're an employee. You say, well, I'm an employee at Target. No, you're an employee for this country. Because before you can get in with Target, you had to give them your social security number. So you're an employee of this country to make sure this country keep moving up under capitalism. But now once they shut that down and shut it out, and all the big corporations, what they call them, the big 5-star corporations or whatever they are, or the Fortune 5 corporations, the big boys, and AI run down this seam, and it's rapidly happening right in front of our faces. If you're going to get involved with this political arena, I need you to learn political science. I need you to start watching and understanding the people that you say is in your best interest and do your research on what they believe and how they believe. And most of them going to be crooked anyway. But the ultimate thing is, do not allow them to sway you from your ultimate belief of the Most High God and start bickering and falling out in the low ranks while the high ranks sit back and watch your demise. Sadly, we're in a government shutdown, and what it shows me is none of them care. None of them care. They have an agenda to get us to whichever one get us there first, whichever way they choose. We still got one goal. It's one end goal. A world power, a single world government, control the masses. You no longer be a citizen of a country, you'll be a citizen of the world. Remember Michael Jackson? We are the world. We are the children. We are the one to make a brighter day, so let's start living. Or giving. Or what? Giving what, though? And if we are the world, and if we want to make a brighter day, why is it getting darker? Why is it getting darker? Why? Why no knowledge, no understanding, lack of knowledge, lack of understanding? My people perish because of lack of knowledge. Where there is no vision, the people perish. I can't see my way. This was different. I felt the need to do it because I see a shift going on right now. I did talk politics. I did share scripture. We're going to get back to what I was saying when I said that we got 3 forms of religion on this planet, or what they call spiritual beliefs. We got Christianity, which has over 45,000 different beliefs. We have Islam that mainly deal with 2, Shiite and Sunnis. Then we have Judaism, which deals with the Anunnaki and the Sephardi and a couple of more types of Jewish beliefs. All trace back to Abraham, the father. We'll talk about the split the next time I see you. Till then, thank you guys for tuning in. I want you to like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification button. We're going to be coming back at you again soon. Kay and I, we work diligently to get this thing done. We had one post that didn't go through well. We had to take it down and repost it, but it's fine. I want to thank you again. And until then, we see you again. I'm going to say, as I always do, what the flux. I'm out of here.
You ever stand in front of something and feel time doesn't add up? That's Prague Castle. They say it was founded around the year 870 by Prince Bodzivoj of the Przemyslid dynasty. But nothing about it feels like the 9th century. It's massive, 70,000 square meters of limestone and marble, the largest ancient castle complex in the world. Archaeologists discovered Romanesque walls under Gothic floors, and below those, megalithic stone blocks with no tool marks. They call it reused material. I call it inheritance. Maybe we didn't build this. Maybe we just found it. The castle is built like a layer cake of centuries. Romanesque houses and ramparts from the 10th and 12th centuries sleep beneath the royal courtyard. Laser scans show 8-ton stone blocks cut and aligned within a single centimeter. And yet, back then, Prague had maybe 3,000 people. No cranes, no iron, just hands, hammers, and stories. So who were they really building for? Sometimes the stones remember things we were never supposed to know. Beneath the courtyard, another Prague breathes. Arched limestone tunnels twist below the old royal palace and connect to St. George's Basilica and St. Vitus Cathedral. Some sealed, some collapsed, some leading far deeper than any wine cellar should. Below the cathedral lies the royal crypt, home to Bohemian kings and St. Wenceslas. It's closed to the public. No tours, no cameras. They say it's for preservation, but maybe what's really being preserved is a story we were never meant to see.